Welcome to the Vocal Lab podcast with your hosts Shelby Rollins and Jason Catrone, bringing you the best from the music industry. Get ready for first-class conversations packed with exclusive techniques and transformative insights, all designed to help you reach your top note. That was an exasperating sigh.
I was taking my deep breath to get ready.
Is that what it takes to do this? Is it that daunting and stressful?
No, I mean, like, doesn't that kind of sound like when you have that first sip of coffee?
Okay, yeah. So it's just like, I'm going to relax into this moment.
Settling in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Oh, well.
How you doing?
Fantastic.
It's the middle of the day.
It is for us here, filming our lovely podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Yeah.
Per usual. Call your friends, call your wives, your...
And that hide your kids,
I was like,
hide your wives.
where's that coming to my mind? But yeah.
What was that from?
That was
like
some
a meme.
it was like I think it was like, it went viral.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like, that might have been before TikTok.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, that was just like a Facebook.
2011.
Oh, yeah.
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Did you just type that in?
No.
How did you pull that fact out of your brain?
Because at this job I used to work at, one of the guys that I was really close friends with, one of our traditions whenever we first got into the office is that we would play that video.
Every day?
Every single morning.
Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
Climbing your windows, snatching your people up.
Oh, yeah. It was like a song.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Oh, man.
That's right.
Anyway,
That was a throwback. 2011.
Yeah. That's when things were truly viral.
That was when it started.
Now people get like 10 views. Like, this went viral, man. Have me on the Today Show.
A pet peeve of mine is influencers on like Instagram, where, like shopping influencers specifically, like for fashion or whatever. Yes, I follow some of these. Okay, I need to know what cute shoes I should buy from Target. But anyway, it drives me nuts because there's a couple of them in particular that are always like this viral barrel jean, this viral sunscreen. I don't know what it is, and everything is viral, and it means that nothing is viral, and I don't care. Like, stop calling everything viral. I need that word to cancel.
I think it was COVID that kind of really
I got that.
made everyone go viral. Ha, ba-dum-bum-bum. Right? So I did that.
Well,
I just saw there's like some. Did you see they just caught these two Chinese people somewhere in the States that had this biological virus in like their apartment or something, or was it a school?
Is this
They're
a weird
working at
joke
school.
again?
No. This is really deal. Like they're like being detained right now because this thing could have like gotten out and like had this crazy virus.
My tin hat.
Michigan.
My tin hat just went on my head. Okay,
Do you know what you call someone from Michigan?
Michigander?
Yeah, good. You get some of these. Cheers to you. I just always thought that was a cool one. I'm a Michigander.
Yeah.
Take a gander in Michigan. That should be their slogan. Come take a gander.
Maybe it is.
Michigan. It could be.
I don't know. Well, you know who's not from Michigan?
Our guest today.
Our guest is not from Michigan.
Gander this way.
Yes. Our guest today is not from Michigan.
Not
He's
at all.
from Seattle.
Hey.
Let's welcome Micah Otano.
Michael Otano.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Cheers.
Thanks for being here. That's a cool name, Michael Otano. That sounds
Otano.
like you.
Yep.
Otano.
Yep.
That sounds very, I don't know, it just has this weight of like importance to it.
It does.
Michael Otano.
It's Cuban.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
I was going to guess Polynesian at first, the Otano part.
People, when they see me, they always go with
And West
like,
Coast,
yeah,
yeah.
Persian, Italian. And I'm like, no, it's like Cuban.
Cuban.
Because we left out the ñ, because a lot of people were like, how do you say that? And it was like...
You and Carlos relate there.
Exactly. So my parents...
Otano versus...
Otano.
Oh, okay.
My full name was Micah Josue Otano. So it was like...
Ooh, say that again. Say a little slower.
Micah Josue Otano.
I like that.
So my parents, obviously didn't call me that. And my dad, coming straight from Cuba, here, he was an immigrant. He did not want us to learn Spanish or anything like that. It was, you gotta learn English, you gotta be, it was like, have a better way of life than I did, figure it out, so.
Did you learn Spanish though?
No, not at all. That's their secret language that they speak. So like when my parents don't want me to know what they're saying, they speak in Spanish. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. And so to that degree, I learned some things.
Yeah.
You
learned the things you needed to know.
Yes, very quickly. And I've had, I had bouts where I dabbled, and I went on some mission trips when I was younger. So I went to Mexico and things like that. So I did like, learning it. My sister went full immersion. Like her kids all learned both English and Spanish and the whole nine. So,
have you been to Cuba?
No, not yet.
Me either. I really want to go.
I really want
My
to
brother
go.
has been. He took like his whole family on a missions trip.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did they go to Havana or where'd they go?
They did. They were, I don't know where they like kind of camped out, but they did go to Havana. Brought us back some cool like Cuban souvenirs. He has a lot to say about it. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating
I really want to
country.
see it. My brother used to own a big tobacco company, and in college he got invited by the Cuban government when it's still closed off to go as a guest of the government to tour tobacco farms and stuff and cigars. And he took my dad, and he didn't invite me. There's still like a
How dare.
bitterness there. That's why I don't fully trust my brother.
Yeah, without a doubt, I wouldn't trust him either.
Right?
That is good.
Well, okay, so Micah, a little bit about him. I'm going to let him, he's got more to say about himself, but producer, writer, musician, artist, has been on tour, owns a million things and companies, labels, clubs,
true
businesses.
entrepreneur.
Such a musical
That's just what you gotta
entrepreneur.
call it.
It's hard to really
Creative business
give
person.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what's your elevator pitch to somebody when you're trying to tell somebody what you do.
Wow. I tell them how much time do you have, and then I'm like, then we'll
Like,
decide
it's a
which
10
lane we go
elevator
down.
flight ride.
Yeah, you've had to
What floor
find
are you
that.
on?
Like,
Yeah.
that's been a tricky thing to navigate at
It's
times,
been a very
right?
tricky thing.
Yeah,
I mean, for the
I get
longest
that.
time in my life, I felt so isolated because I felt like I only did one thing, right? And I realized early on, as you follow the money trails, there's so many dead ends to a certain degree, and it was like my initial thought was, man, I'm going to be an artist and I'm going to tour the world, and it was like 16, I joined a rock band, and it was like, this is what I'm doing. And then it was like, no, you're not. You need to go to college. And I was like, oh, cool, fun. We have to do that too.
Where'd you go to school?
But I ended up going to Full Sail in Florida. So
cool.
I went to a recording arts college. Went there, and immediately after that, I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm going to get into the industry through the engineering side. And obviously you realize at that point, like, oh man, there's no money to be made as an engineer in music, But, I moved to LA immediately and found myself just navigating, luckily the one thing that school did amazing for me was they had a wonderful job placement program that got me my first gig ever. And it was just like I was working for this smooth jazz artist named Brian Culbertson out of his house, running his studio, and just kind of because of being so involved, and it was such a mom and pop operation at the time, I found myself being tour manager, production manager, mixing front of house. Now you're doing it in the studio. Oh, you've got to play on this record. Oh, you're going to be doing this. And then I started realizing, oh my gosh, there's just so many facets to what I would want to do. And
I've always said that one of the greatest entry jobs is, everyone like throws out the playful thing of I was starting in the mailroom, and that used to be kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
But it really is what you did, because I did the same thing. Is like find that small artist who's got stuff going on, and don't worry about how big they are in any lane, because you're going to learn a little bit about everything and figure out really where you want to go, and you're going to connect with everyone.
100%. And for me, it was incredible coming up in the jazz realm because, my first session, I'm sitting there with like Alex Al, the bass player that did a bunch of Michael Jackson stuff, and Greg Fillinganes on keys.
Crazy.
And, these guys coming in that I was like, wow, I thought I knew music. I know nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really, it humbled me. But then I saw that like, oh, I still have something to contribute.
Yes, that's cool.
Yeah.
And those cats are loyal.
Loyal to
and it is like a
without a doubt. Well, Alex Al
shorty.
still to this day keep in touch with.
That's amazing.
He's a bass player I still use on records. He's
Yeah.
a guy. If I need Alex out, I can call tomorrow and make it happen.
That's
like
cool.
those bonds that you create in that industry in LA, I didn't realize it was such a small sector until I started expanding outward.
Yeah.
And it was like, but that gave me a real foundation and a root system. One of my best friends to this day is Eric Darius. He's a smooth jazz artist that, plays saxophone and incredibly talented. And just my kids, that's Uncle Eric, I love him to death. But there is just, a talent that goes beyond what I would do, but he's doing his thing and he's professional in what he's doing. And for me, I just realized like I love jazz music, but that's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's great to have that flair, because I was a rock kid that did jazz music, that ended up touring with Solange and realizing, oh, this is a whole nother lane that you have to do. And so the evolution of my musical career has been fun.
And you know what's cool that you point out in that, without directly pointing out, is like, you're the rock guy who kind of have eyes on all this pop stuff too, right? Mm-hmm. But the conduit to connect that was really the jazz guys, because
100%.
they work with everybody.
100%.
The rock and pop don't intersect that often,
Not at all.
ever, right?
Not at all.
That jazz guy or girl,
Yeah.
they're gonna play on those.
Well, and
records,
that's where
gonna
we
be shows.
really
That's
hit.
cool.
That's where we hit our stride early on, like in LA, and it was because of that dichotomy, so to speak. But for me, I only picked up the guitar and taught myself the guitar because the piano wasn't cool. And I'm sitting there going, you can't be a cool keyboard player. Like, that's stupid. Like, that's dumb. I was like, what, am I going to
That's
have
funny.
a guitar? Like, no. Like, that's not my jam.
It's working for Charlie Puth.
I mean,
I've
listen.
never heard anyone say that. but yeah, you're kind of right. It's not.
It's not the
at
cool.
the beginning. It's
you
not
are
really the cool.
stuck to behind that instrument.
The girls are into the guitar guys.
Or the drummer.
drummers.
Like, if you're going to be stuck behind something, let it be a drum kit. Like, not a keyboard. It's not that sexy, not going to lie. But, in my mind, but then what I found, right, because I was classical piano 14 to 12, but, it lived in grew up in a very Christian family that no secular music was allowed.
Oh,
so my
okay.
exposure
Had a friend
was
like that.
I had no exposure. I didn't listen to the Beatles records.
Were you
I didn't
like
listen to.
It was either like church music or like my parents' generation, the boomer 60s rock and roll stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I was listening to like Hillsong and DC Talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like.
I was going to say, when you
cool.
said you were in like a rock band at 16, was it like influenced by DC Talk, Third Day?
Absolutely, it
that kind of
was
stuff?
Audio Drill and DC Talk.
Yeah.
Like, you name those guys.
I'm thinking Nirvana.
Yeah,
Right?
and coming from Seattle,
Yeah,
I would have
that's
thought so too. And
That was
then
my first connect in my mind. Was like,
Right.
oh, he grew up.
I didn't get to listen to Nirvana until after I moved to college.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that's actually from our generation I didn't listen to until later on. I listened to some. I mean, I went to public school,
Yeah.
so I was exposed to a lot of stuff, but I definitely had a CD confiscated.
Oh yeah, mine was
that
Boys
I
to
had
Men.
bought.
Really?
No, the one that was confiscated was the soundtrack to the movie Dangerous Minds, and the Coolio song, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Oh yeah, so good.
Gangsta's Paradise,
Yeah.
that song.
Gangsta's Paradise.
that's
Yeah,
a
my
good
mom
one.
caught me listening to that.
My
She was
first-
like, thank you very much.
And
I'm going
you're
to take
grounded.
that.
My first
I was like, I
CD
hadn't memorized the second verse yet.
My first CD was, my sister is older, like 16 years older, and my first CD was Prince. She gave me She gave me Prince Purple Rain and took me to
Nice.
see him in concert.
That was your
That's-
first concert?
That I remember.
Mine was Leanne Rimes' Blue.
Wow.
Yep. First concert.
Mine was Audio Adrenaline, and you're welcome.
Big house. We were jamming out.
Listen, well, and
Solid.
it's actually funny because my parents had a friend from church that knew Bob Herdman, who was the keyboard player in Audio Adrenaline, right? And that's why I went to go see them at the Tacoma Dome in Seattle
Nice.
or area.
Oh, cool.
And I remember that had such a huge impact on me because it really made me meet Bob, who was the keyboard player, and I was only played piano at the time, and I thought, okay, this is cool, But then I realized, oh wait, the guitar players are way better, and I started looking at the whole show, and my mind was infatuated by the whole production.
Yeah.
I wasn't focused on anybody in particular, and I left that going, I want to throw my own concert. And so I actually tried to go throw early on. I started my first business when I was 12, and I had a concept in my mind that I was going to hire the talent, rent the venue, do all this stuff. And I literally was trying to do that and raise funds to get it done early on. And my parents were like, if you can figure this out, like, cool, but we're not getting sued. So, like, I don't know how you're going to do this. And I was trying to, rally folks. And, fast forward to when I was, with my band, we ended up putting this thing together called the Road Show, where we actually went into all these high schools and we put on a concert. And this was early on, finding a way. I got, a church involved to, donate funds for staging and crew and all of these things. And they gave away a car, and we were like, let's use this as a term. We're a Christian rock band at the time, or so we would say, or would have called ourselves. But realistically speaking, we didn't write any songs really. It was all love songs like that I was writing, and at that time, I just thought this would be a great way to get access to a whole slew of people and invite our whole youth group and get everybody out. And so we turned it into a thing, and it became an annual thing that we did called the Road Show. And it was pretty impressive.
It's like the original Winter Jam.
Yeah. I mean, originally, for real. I mean, but it became a catalyst for me to understand, like, again, you start these early on influences of this is how a show gets put on. Oh, this is what it's like to go do this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it's like. Okay, this is when a song doesn't work on the stage.
Sure.
You know,
Which is a big deal to
yeah,
know.
Right.
like, wow,
Yeah.
they're not responding at all.
The
Like,
amount of artists that don't
Yeah.
understand when a song does not work on stage,
Yeah.
get rid of it.
Right.
You know?
well, and you can't really understand that or know or have preemptive thoughts about it until you've experienced it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's putting in those
and
reps.
being aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, just
Yeah.
because you think it's great doesn't mean they are. All right. Do you like the Antique Roadshow?
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. Actually, yes, I do.
I do too, right?
I'm a
That's-
treasure
it's-
hunter at heart, so
Oh, cool.
yes, I would
There's
absolutely.
something
love that.
really
know,
soothing about it.
I was thinking earlier when you were talking about starting a business at 12, I'm like, you're like Gary Vee, but now you really are because
Oh, yeah, he's got
he's
that
like the
Cuban
garage.
hustle.
He's got that garage sale thing that he does, Gary Vee, where he
yes.
like goes and he flips stuff at garage sales.
yeah.
And anyway, okay,
Well,
neither here nor there.
It always blew my mind, watching. I have mad respect for anybody that can take something and take nothing and turn it into
Turn
something.
into something.
Yeah.
I say that all the time to all of my songwriter friends. It's
Yeah.
really an amazing thing being a songwriter because I think it's the closest we can have a connection to our creator, so to speak, and what we do because we are literally bringing to life something out of nothing. We are speaking it into existence. We are, harmonically bringing this thing that was a blank slate. You opened a session and there's nothing in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we brought this and we built it, the landscape, the context, the understanding of it. We built a universe that it exists in, and then we get to tell a story.
Yeah.
And it has the power, unlike anything else, to move and change
Yeah.
someone's life. It is one of the most divine things someone can do.
Without a doubt. And I
Yeah.
think that's why people have
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
a deep connection to the songs,
Absolutely.
to the music. I mean, you can live and die by the song. And I think that's the power in it that too many artists oftentimes use for the wrong purposes.
Yeah.
And why there's such a pitfall in the industry for that.
Yeah.
And you have to
Totally.
really be careful where you navigate it because you have to be responsible with what you created.
Exactly.
You really
Because you
do.
really are holding very vulnerable things in your hands as an artist in front of a massive audience of people, of their emotional state,
Yeah.
of their
Yeah.
spiritual state at times.
Yes.
And so if you're negligent with that responsibility and you use it selfishly, egotistically, or very negatively, you're putting out there art that is like
Yeah.
really
not a-
pointing
you
people in a
can't-
bad direction. Like you should be held accountable.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm not a big reader per
Yeah.
se. I just too ADD, but
Me too.
I've read some books along the way, of course, but one that I always go back to when this type of conversation comes up is a book by Erwin McManus, who's pastor of Mosaic out
Okay.
in
In
LA.
LA.
And he wrote a book called The Artisan's Soul.
That's
is
a great book.
It's a really,
I read
really
that several
great
years
book
ago.
for any creative, just really any, because what he really helps you understand that regardless of what you do,
Yeah.
if you're like creative like us or if you're Carlos, it's like,
That was a subtle dig.
gosh,
You
that's
didn't
a
know.
no, whether you're like you could be a banker or a songwriter.
Just add to that to the
it's
log.
it's all a reflection of creativity that comes from a creator.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's a really great book. You check it if you ever want to read something.
No, absolutely. I'm way too ADD
Me
for
too.
books. I mean,
Audiobooks, right?
Oh yeah, the audiobook. There
You
we
know
go.
what I
That's the one
read?
you're talking
It sounds really unfortunate, but the only books I really read are manuals, and that's when I really give up that I couldn't figure it out on my own.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, totally.
And I give in, and then I
Yeah.
finally have to look at the directions. But
No, I know. I always think I'm going to. I just bought a book. I bought that Rick Rubin book.
that's an incredible.
I know.
book.
I'm going to read it.
I
What's
did
it
the
called?
audio. I did the audiobook on that one.
Okay.
On the plane,
Yeah,
for sure.
What's it called?
It's what is the name
oh
of
my
it?
gosh.
Carlos.
Carlos. I already know this.
Tell them I haven't read it yet. You pick up quick. Yeah, the creative act.
There you go.
I'll add it to my list. I haven't read it.
So
Incredible.
Yeah, you've probably seen the cover because it's real simple, just a gray
And
book
you've
with
probably
this little,
heard blurbs because there's a
Yes.
lot of little things little nuggets he'll put out that are like,
Probably.
they came
Yeah.
from
He's
there.
got so many quotes.
I bought it to take on this trip to Spain I did a month ago, and
Then you didn't read it.
it just stayed in my backpack.
Yeah.
I didn't even touch it.
Yeah. Well,
Had all these opportunities. I'm like, nope, just gonna sit here and look at the sky.
That's one creator I think that more than anybody has influenced me, but that I connect to completely. I feel like every word he says I understand because I feel it. I think that there's that is one person without a doubt that I have the utmost respect for his creative mind. You know, I mean, it's really beautiful and unreal, but to me, it's a really brilliant reminder that your creativity doesn't always have to come with technicality. And a lot of times, too many people, you'll see artists rely either heavily on their technical abilities or on their creative side. I happen to feel like I'm one of those people that have both sides of the brain that work at the same time. I think that's sort of my creative lane, but I have a mad respect for the people on the technical side, but I'm not exactly somebody that would rely 100% on my technicality. And I have a mad respect for people on the creative side, and I dabble in that, but I don't necessarily feel like I'm as creative as somebody as like a Rick Rubin. But there is an element to him that every word he says just resonates with me at my core, and I mad respect for it.
Yeah, for sure. And to be fair, we should never understand. We should never underestimate that middle person, right? Because there's so much good stuff that happens right there.
Without a doubt. Well, I think that you start understanding, for me, you know, I went to a technical college, I had technical upbringing, everything was technical side, right?
Classical,
Classical,
pianist, yeah.
everything in my foundation screams technicalities. When you get creative, you need to abandon your technical mindset.
Right.
Yes.
To really delve in. And so there is an element, and I always tell this, you know, while working on like Belle's project, for example, when her whole creative concept, I said in the very beginning, like, you're going to meet 3 different Micahs. And I absolutely have to operate in 3 different ways. And I said, I almost want to wear 3 different hats every time. So you understand who you're dealing with. Because when I worked with Prince, that was something we always understood.
Sorry, did you just say when I worked with Prince?
Yeah, when he came.
I just needed us to all slow down for a minute and have a moment for that sentence.
Are you the only person in this room who hasn't?
We did 3. We used to have Prince come into the Sayers Club.
Yeah,
often.
I did. Scope has told me that.
And we did 3 nights with him where he had a 22-piece band. Like, I mean, in a 300-person room, we had an 11-piece horn section, trombone shorty. I mean, one of the most amazing things I've ever been a part of. But I was the one that had to work technically with him and his whole crew to make this happen. And it was a nightmare, to say the least. But what we learned every time that Prince would come into the venue, you could tell what Prince you got based on what he wore. And his persona completely changed. And it was, if he had a fro that day, man, you had a whole different Prince than if he walked in with the cane, and you know, and it was a whole thing. And there was
that's fascinating.
It became something we learned how to dial into and understand. Okay, because different princes needed different approaches and different mindsets. What creative lane was he in?
My royal friends.
But it's a very interesting mindset, but very true. You know, I mean, when I have to create, I have to abandon my technicality.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I need to embrace that creative
And that's good for
mindset.
artists to hear out there specifically.
yeah.
Absolutely. Throw that technical mindset out the door. Be fearless to make all the mistakes, because your technical side says you have to be perfect, right? Your creative mindset says perfection is based on perception. You know, I think that there's so much beauty in the mistakes. Sometimes I leave a lot of stuff in our records that other people would perfect. I realized that when I did the Frank Ocean record back in 2012, when I came out with Lost, that was one of those songs that I would have told you was probably my least favorite song at the time that I had been working on. And it was done all in one day, and there was a lot of things that I just would have wanted to do otherwise. and I was experimenting at that time.
Wow.
And that was actually a song that was an extreme departure from anything I'd been creating at that time. That was 2009 that we did that, and it didn't come out until 2012. But in that, I realized when it made it on the record and it came to life and people seeing their response to it, I understood those mistakes that I hear, those little nuances, those things that I said, oh, like that rubs me. There's beauty in that.
Yeah.
And you can't deny that. And those little influxes create the character. Too perfected of a product and too polished doesn't always connect.
Right.
You know? So there is, and now self-admittedly, I'm one that seeks those things out rather than running away from them.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
there's-
it's true. I tell every artist work with that same thing. And,
Yeah, I do too.
Try to help them really understand that the process of their own brokenness and being okay with that and speaking into that, and again the crazy, the overly creative, all that stuff that. Like almost everything we have is that we really love, like an iPhone for say, you know, that it was from a mistake.
Yeah.
Those things don't just like happen like
Yeah.
ta-da.
Yeah.
You know, they're all through mistake.
And
Without a
you know,
doubt.
I think the beauty of the middle lane that you're kind of talking about, kind of having, and I feel similarly where I can lean heavy onto either side, but I
You
kind
are
of
so
am in the
technical.
middle.
Oh.
No, I am.
You are
I
now.
am.
You're
but
right.
then
I was thinking like your technical prowess with your iPhone and computer. And,
Oh, no, not that kind of technical. Carlos can attest.
yeah.
No, the technique side of me as a coach, but like
You shine there.
and I love it, admittedly, because I do believe there's such a gateway from technique into authentic artistry.
Yeah.
Because I see that if we go too far onto either side, you run into problems. And too far on the overly creative side, it's sort of like in the brokenness, whatever. It's like some people will just use that as a license to stay broken, to stay untrained, to stay in their own BS and excuses.
Also, creative people tend to be really lazy. And technical people
Right.
tend to be perfectionists.
Yeah.
And so you have either a sloppy work that you're producing
Yes.
that isn't polished
Yeah.
enough, or you are too polished and you can't connect.
Yeah.
And it is,
So it's like
again,
you
that
gotta turn
middle.
your
It's
back.
that
Like,
middle.
thank you, technique. I'm gonna
Yeah.
turn my back on you now.
Yeah.
And trust. I think one of the things I feel tasked to do often with artists is help them to learn to trust themselves and the work that they've been putting in.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, you've put in the reps. Now you have to actually have a moment where you like actualize and trust that work that you did, that the reps are there, the muscle development, the muscle memory has been established. And now you can show up and let that work for you.
100%.
And that's hard for people. So you have to have
It's
these
so
like
hard.
microdose exposures of that for people
That's
to
a
kind
good
of
way.
get into
That's
a
a good thing to
trustful
put in too.
scenario.
Having that little exposure.
Right.
Also, the middle, in what I think and what I see in most people, is where the hustle usually shines best and happens most, because you have to. It oftentimes forces you to find something that's going to stand out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not Rick Rubin and I'm not, you know,
Mrs. Mooney.
Yeah, right. I'm not Miss Mooney.
Dude, was that on camera? We were talking about Miss Mooney, the teacher.
I think so. Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably
That
not.
was his nun teacher.
The ex-nun.
Yeah. But really,
Super
it's,
strict and beat you as a child.
Yeah.
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 but it's really that
Paid off.
hustle, you know? We should call this let's call this episode The Hustler of Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, I love
That's,
that.
that might get some clicks.
Yeah,
for the wrong
It would
reason.
definitely get some
That's some
clicks.
clickbait for you right there,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
You know, you were
You know
mentioning
where Larry
early
Flint's from? Named Hustler.
Hollywood. I don't-
Cincinnati, the nasty natty. I don't think that's why they call it that, but that connects.
I'm going to not even ask a follow-up question. You said something about when you were in the studio with these jazz guys, early days, and how you were able to see, wow, they're wildly talented. They have a crazy skill set. But then you said this, and I want to circle back to it because I think this is unique, and a lot of people miss this, is that you were like, I still found something of value that I could add. How did you know that you had value when you were standing with giants in a room like that?
And not be scared to fail. I mean, I'll tell you this much. I was deathly afraid of every session I walked into.
I bet.
And I realized really quickly that it oftentimes isn't about, sort of how you succeeded in that moment. It's about how you tried. And you learn something from every time. And so it was...
And how you didn't give up.
Without a doubt. And I think that at that point, I really learned how to sit back and watch.
Yeah.
And if you're a perspective person and you're somebody that can really put things into perspective, I found that it was, listen, these guys do this. I still do this. And I always found myself feeling a little bit outside of what all of the norms were in the box.
Yeah.
When we, when I toured with Solange, here I am, somebody that didn't come, I'm playing keys. I was, talk about deathly afraid. The only reason I ended up on that tour was because Kim Burse, who was Beyonce's creative director at the time, we were writing songs and producing songs that we were trying to shop actively to Beyonce and everybody.
Yeah.
We were just sending stuff out. And Kim Burse, hit us up one day because we were doing songs for her and her nephew and all of these things, or her niece. And she was like, listen, can you be in Houston, on Sunday? This was Friday. And I'm like, sure, can I know why? And she was like, no, can't tell you why, just can you go? Will you be in Houston? Can I put you on a plane?
Wow.
Sure. I don't know what it is. Meanwhile, my only experience with her is being in a studio where we're producing, and it's in a safe environment, and I'm creating, and I have time to make mistakes, I have time to fix them, I have all these things. I show up, and we get, picked up at the airport and taken directly to Music World, which is a compound that Beyonce owned at the time, with her, it was her dad, and the whole Knowles family. But we get in there and they start giving us these songs, and I find myself with a band of people that I do not know, and we're all just getting put in there, and then we're basically told, you need to learn these songs, and then we're gonna come back in a couple hours and we're gonna hear them, and hear you play them.
And you still don't know what you're doing.
Well, at that point we had a pretty good idea that it was something that we all should be scared of,
Right.
At that point.
Yeah.
And so, I'm meeting, the bass player and the guitar player and the drummer all for the first time. And what I realized is we've all been brought here for a reason, but whatever that is, and to whatever technical ability we have, we just have to perform at our own capacity, at our own level. And I couldn't compare myself in that moment to another keyboard player that was out there, or I couldn't compare the drummer to, Ronald Bruner Jr., or I couldn't sit there and be like, this bass player is that guy. No, we were all nobodies. And we were sitting in a room, not understanding what we had to do. And in that moment, I really realized they're looking for what I had to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
Yeah.
And even if it's my facade and I can perform, what is it you're looking for? And it became something that was really special to me because it pushed me so far outside of my comfort zone that every night, I kid you not, I would be in a dead sweat. I was just freaking out. I mean, that's when I started drinking, let's be honest. I was just this is, I don't know how to cope with this. I don't know how to do this because this is not what I do. I'm outside of the studio. This is not my environment. But luckily I had this little Pro Tools operator, this guy named KT, who was from Memphis, and he one of the most incredible keyboard players I knew. And so I said, can I take the keyboard back to my hotel, and can me and KT be roommates? And KT and I would sit there every night, and he would go over all of it with me and be like, and he was this gospel player that had this feel that was just like, no, Micah, just do this.
Yeah.
Oh, no, just lean into this. Just lean into it. And then I had him as a backstop that constantly encouraged me and let me know, because I was questioning, am I good enough? Because we knew eventually, that same night they ended up bringing out, it was Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and it was Matthew Knowles and Miss Tina, and it was Solange, and it was and then these background singers, and it was okay, here, we're going to play these songs now. And
you're like, oh, and it's in front of these people. Okay. Here we go.
And here we go. And the rest, obviously we became, and later I found out they had an entirely different band that was this gospel band, all of the players with the players, but they wanted something different. They wanted a Diana Ross and the Supremes meets the Beatles in the back. That's what they wanted.
Wow.
And so we were wearing suits and, ties every night, and it was a visual component, but also they didn't just want and Solange is so deeply artistic. And at that time, she was trying to discover who she was. She was known as Beyonce's little sister.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be your own artist. Who are you?
Yeah.
And how do you identify that? And so watching, luckily for me, again, I sit back and observe, and being in these rooms, being in these parts, and being not afraid to say, I don't care if I'm good enough, but I'm going to try.
What do we have to do to get
incredible.
Solange and Beyonce on this podcast? Your life's been great, I get that, but like, how do you help us out? Okay, that's amazing, man. That's
Tag
a really
Solange.
Yeah, that's a really cool story.
It is,
and it's also your ability to just show up in that moment and not give up is everything about you. I don't need to know anything else.
Absolutely,
Like,
because
literally.
most people do give up after. I think a lot of people would say, "Well, I did try." How hard did you really, though?
Yeah.
And it might be I got a handful of no's. I got a couple of embarrassing moments or something like that, and it did make people sort of give up on an approach as if they gave it the old college try, and they didn't really, but like constantly like showing up, going, when you were talking about KT showing you things and he kept saying, just lean into it. It made me, I literally wondered, I wonder how long it took him saying that for you to finally do that.
Yeah.
What was it that made it click? And maybe it was just that constant osmosis effect of being in that space and showing up over and over again and continuing to try before it started to really permeate who you were as an artist.
It did, but it also was like, it was KT, and our first tour we went out on was called the Art of Love Tour, and we went with Raheem Devon, Chrisette Michelle, and I think it was, and us. I think it was just the three of us. And this was all like, here we are, bunch of white guys getting thrown into this very urban Art of Love tour,
Which is daunting.
Daunting in and of itself, because I knew all of them, and they're very good musicians.
Yeah.
But their bands were incredible, and their bands were sort of fascinated by us, and so they would stick around during our sound checks and be like, kind of like, who are these guys? Because we're not the guys that are like known in that industry, or that demographic of players, and so all of those players from that first tour became such close friends of mine to this day. And so it was KT, but then it was the keyboard player for Raheem Devon, who ended up really encouraging me every night and coming out and being like, bro, you got this. Bro, you were freaking killing it. And
That's
like
awesome.
Giving me those words of encouragement that made me go, okay, because I would have a horrible night and just be ashamed and be like, oh, I need to walk off stage and never come back. And hearing those little nuggets and then eventually watching us move, because that when we did Solange's tour, we ended up on all these little micro tours. We toured with Estelle. We ended up eventually touring with Alicia Keys. We ended up going on, we opened for Beyonce, and we started moving up the ladder of these things, playing live on TV. We played live at Radio City Music Hall.
Amazing.
We did, we played on David Letterman. We started doing, it didn't stop. And, here I am now on retainer, signed a contract, can't get out of this thing if I wanted to. And I'm like freaking out every day, not knowing how to do this.
Wow.
And feeling like I'm
crazy.
failing every day.
That's
and
awful.
It was the truth of it, what it did is it told me how to just keep going and how to not stop, even if I'm just mortified of what it is. And I'll tell you this, I was the weakest link of all of them, but that drummer to the day, Dave, that was in our band, Dave Purebar, he is still one of my closest friends. When I brought Bell to any of my close projects, that's why we went out to Vienna and Austria to him to record drums with him. Siggy, the bass player, and Dave and Matt, and Melanie, who's now out on tour with Taylor Swift. All of us went on to do some of the greatest things in the industry in our own lanes, and I have mad respect for each and every one of them, but a deep, deep, deep connection that'll never go away because we went through the trenches together.
Yeah.
And
you had to.
You had
to do that to get to where you are now and beyond.
Backs up against the wall.
And what could have really solved this problem real quickly would have been a nun hitting him with her hat.
I think that might happen.
If only
Get you into shape right away.
If only she hit a little harder.
That's very inspiring.
Yeah,
it's very powerful.
superly.
And my business coach talks about how like you you are walking through the doors that you're meant to walk through at this point in time in your own level of your development. So if you want to walk through bigger doors, you need to become the person who can walk through those doors.
Yeah,
and so it sounds like a lot of your story, it was, it for all of us, right, shaping us into the person that you needed to be to walk through that door, so that then when you showed up, when the opportunity came to you, you were ready.
100%.
Even though you were kind of freaking out, even after it happened. It's not like you magically were like, I'm awesome.
No.
Watch me shine. But like, you still had to work through stuff. But when that opportunity came onto your doorstep, you had already showed up countless time after time going, I'm just going to try. And they needed people to do it in that very unique way of like, show up in Houston. I'm not telling you anything else. And you're just going to figure it out. You're like, I guess I'm going to try. You know?
Is that different than me showing you the door?
Thanks, Jason. Yeah.
She sets me up so good.
I do. But
your journey's been crazy, man.
It really has. I mean, and we've really only covered like the first half, I feel like. So now, kind of catch us up a little bit of what you've been doing in the more recent half of your career.
So, everything in life, I really believe, is a culmination of where you sit today, you know, and every experience that you have, whether it be a success or a failure, dictates who you are in that line of work now, you know. And I mean, for me, you know, this year, January, top of this year, you know, we launched the record company, and we're really moving into a niche that I feel is really negated in the industry, and it's true artist development from not just, you know, a support team perspective, but from the label side. Put your money where your mouth is. You know, these labels are too oftentimes sitting right now and we're seeing the price that's being paid for it in the industry, but they're too scared to take a chance anymore. It has to you have to have a TikTok hit or a viral moment, or you have to be a proven something, or they can't touch you. They can't do it. And it's, you know, that it goes down, it runs the gamut. Publishing companies, record labels, all of it. And you know, just finally, after spending all of these years doing everything I felt like for everyone else, for all of the artists out there, I was always chasing placements and trying to chase this or do that or help this person or do this for that person. The label was really a decision I made to finally make a home for myself and create all of my creative endeavors that I really love and build a home for it that I can create and manifest the way that I want it to be. And I'm not answering to a major conglomerate. I'm not answering to anybody. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I believe in the projects that I'm doing, and I want to do what I believe in now. So I'm not going to do something that somebody else believes in. I want to trust my own self and my own instincts and my own heart. So that's kind of where we've come into, and you know, it's also been a culmination of the past 3 to 4 years of really just, what is this going to look like? How is that going to be? How does it actually come to fruition? And where do you start, you know, when it comes to that? And I really wanted to start with an artist that nobody knew. I wanted to start with something that didn't exist. I wanted to start with something that had no success outside of what we could do together. And that really came, you know, and I always knew it was going to be the right type of situation, and I trust my gut and my instincts very, very, very deeply. And Belle was that project, you know, and so here comes Belle, you know, a couple years ago. A person that I had known from, you know, her mother since 9 years, you know, since I was 9 years old, and she just had that no quit mentality. She had something that I eventually respected, but also decided I really see the opportunity to create what it is I want to do in artistry on my own side. Not like, you know, because my success in the music industry comes from such a multifaceted thing. But I really wanted to make something that was not necessarily even something I would set out to be like, that's my sound. That's me as a producer. This is what I make. I wanted to say, what does this artist need? What do they need? How can I make this product the best it possibly can be for what it is? And if that's doing a Lizzie McAlpine type song, or if it's doing a Frank Ocean type record, or if it's doing, you know, a Julia Michaels, what is that? You know, and how is that actually going to be? So Belle was that project, and she is that person that came to us, and she literally had no followers on Instagram, no hits on TikTok. She had nothing. She had, and it was, I told her since day one, I said, this is a partnership and I want to do this with you. I want to protect you. I want to protect the project. I want to protect the artistry. I want to be encompassed in all of it. So we literally do. We write all the music together. I produce all the songs with her. I was the DP shooting her music video. I bought all of the, everything. We're the cinematographers. We sat and wrote the script together. Every inch of the art we're doing together.
And you love a blank canvas.
I love a blank canvas.
Well, and that goes back to what you were talking about with what a song is, right?
Yeah, totally. That's what went to my mind. Yeah, it's really cool.
And how I love the culmination of what you're doing now, kind of being what is all of that, my history and what makes me me. How can I kind of archetype that into, maybe is the ultimate dream, or at least present day of all of that,
Well, the ultimate dream is building, and I hate to say that I would even rival something like this, but the truth is my vision is very, very large. I don't I've always shot for the stars, and it's the reason for that is if you can't dream big, you can never have truly any level of success that you're ever going to be truly happy with.
Yeah.
And I believe in absolutely the sky's the limit. The only thing that stops you is you. My mom was really good about doing that. She said, Micah, you can do anything, but you have to do it.
It's really true. People think it's money, and it's never money.
No, it came from
It can be an
$0.
obstacle, right?
Yeah.
Or it can be a time restraint, right? But it's never the money.
No.
Right.
It's what you just said. It's you.
It's the drive,
always you.
I was homeschooled my whole life. I graduated high school when I was 16. I, have worked one job in my whole life for somebody else. It was Starbucks for 6 months until I landed my first gig in LA. Since then, I've worked for myself, by myself, and I have dictated where I'm going based on, putting in the work. I believe that you can't escape that. Here we are. I'm 23 years into this, and I am, since, moving out from my house.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm putting in a real effort that doesn't stop now. And my wife, she'll tell you, if anybody asks, when is Micah going to quit? It's when he's dead.
When he dies.
As it should be. I really admire the people it's really why I really look up to someone like a Martha Stewart, who's she's in her
what is retirement?
She's 85 and she's going
still hanging with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, still right. It's and just keeps reinventing herself.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring.
She didn't let that ankle bracelet stop her.
Exactly.
She beat that.
She sure did.
Beat that dart.
Yeah. I love a hustle. I love a drive. I know you love it too when you see it in an artist or another writer or a business acquaintance, whatever. We have an angel.
There's some kind of tiny flying thing around.
Yeah. My grandmother had a cousin named Belle, and she married a Belle, so she was Belle Belle.
Oh, I love that.
No way.
For real?
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
So you've mentioned Belle Tatum, the artist, for anybody listening who wants to go look her up.
Please.
She's a doll.
Yeah.
She truly is. Talk a little bit about her project and what you're excited about for that.
We are so stoked about her project. Actually, as of Monday, this past week, we just found out that she's number 3 most added on Hot AC Radio. And, her songs, her second single is impacting radio now. We have
it just hit 50,000 streams on Spotify,
50,000 streams, which is incredible for somebody that had nothing.
And still has a very tiny following.
Absolutely. And what's beautiful about that is, we found that the beauty in this is really building the story. And everybody does love a good story. And I think at the end of the day, we want to tell a coming of age story for her that's true to herself, that's, speaks to her as an artist and what it's going to be. But we plan on releasing the album December 5th, and it's entitled Sort of 17. And the whole
Which is a great
project,
song.
It is. And, so the title song is going to be coming out in a couple weeks. Where every 6 weeks we're going to be releasing a song up until December 5th. Her next single comes out June 20th. Called Dancing in My Room, which we had.
Also a good one.
Actually, we've been getting a great response about that one. We had my buddy Sonny Mason, who I wrote and produced with him on Kimbra's album. He came in, he's over in the UK, and so we wrote a couple songs with him on our trip to Europe last year with her. And he just really, nailed the production on it. It's beautiful. He and I did this one together, and then she we want to just unveil this whole project and give people a glimpse of it leading up to December 5th, where they can really see it come to fruition. So it is a coming of age story that we want to tell from her perspective about somebody who, even though they're forced to grow up very quickly, which is what Belle had to do, moving here at 15, and she turned by herself and having to put in the reps. She's been writing and developing over the last few years, and she'll turn 19 June 23rd.
Wow.
But even though she's 19, 20, 21, she's still sort of 17.
Yeah.
And there's a mindset that she's learning how to navigate and learning how to evolve, and she might have to act twice her age, but she still has these young emotional feelings, and I wanted to embrace that. And she's still the kid that when there's tornado warnings, she runs to my house and hides in our basement. She's somebody I deeply care about, and I love her project, and I think it's going to be fantastic. We've built a really wonderful team, and I'm very excited to watch this unfold for her. And I'm really excited, right now on the ad charts, we're the only independent label on the charts.
That's amazing.
And so when you look at Hot AC, it's all major labels. It's Atlantic, it's RCA, it's Capitol Records, and then you got Pop and Hiss, and we're number 3 most added in the nation. Just above Doechii and just under Morgan Wallen, and it's a great company that we find ourselves in.
Yeah.
But she's number 2 on her local radio station back in Washington, and that list is number 1 is Birds of a Feather, Billie Eilish, and it's to be number 2 to that.
It's pretty.
It speaks to what we're doing, and I know we've put in great work. We've wrote really great songs, and I'm really excited for the world to hear it. So,
how do you feel about yourself, Shelby? That's incredible.
Listen, Micah has taught me today that I have something valuable to offer, even when I sit in a room of greatness.
Man, this has been amazing. Yeah, seriously, it's been so good to hear your story.
Yeah.
Just even nuggets of it. I know there's so much more to it.
I know. I think it was just scratching the surface.
We'll do a
there's
part
a lot
2
more.
We'll do a part 2. Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vocal Lab podcast. Ready to join the top ranks of the music industry? Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more first-class conversations that make the extraordinary your new ordinary. Until next time, keep striving for your top note.